and welcome back to Mother Tongue, your eyes, ears, and finger on the pulse for all parents around the world. Let's get going, shall we? We are so incredibly excited to welcome Lynsay Kilbane to Mother Tongue. Lynsay, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very well.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to have this chat today. I feel like I already have a million questions for you. But before we get into all the good stuff, can you please start by telling our lovely listeners a little bit about yourself?
So I am Lynsay Kilbane, a professional British governess of over 15 years. I am now based in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi. Been here for 5 years. It's actually my second time in the country because I just love it so much and it feels like home. And I'm now in my third year of business. I have two companies. One is the Mama Consultancy, and I specialize in placing professional, predominantly Western household staff. So that's could be British governesses, European chefs, house managers, these more professional, higher end jobs inside ultra high net worth households in the Middle East and globally. So that's my main business. But very excitingly, I'm launching a new business, the Nanny Academy Middle East, in September. And this is really like a passion project of mine, which I'm super excited about.
Can you please tell me a little bit more about this? Because I have so many questions. It was only the other day that I was talking to my husband about this. We have a wonderful nanny who's been with us now for 2 years and we adore her. But I would love, I'm guessing this is where you kind of support nannies that are here on how to improve their skills, maybe learn a bit more about educational play and all that kind of stuff. Because this is something that I'm dying to do with our nanny because she's fantastic, but she hasn't had any form of training in that space, and I don't have the brain power or the skill or the know-how to teach her. So please tell me more about this.
So the Nanny Academy is created for people exactly like you. So if you have found a nanny that you love and you trust, but she's missing some skills because they are untrained mostly in the Middle East and they are wonderful, but there are some gaps. And I think it would be so powerful to teach them Western nanny skills. So things like, play, how to play, setting up activities, but also things like household management, how to schedule the children's diaries, how to communicate with employers, what are the expectations of a professional nanny, because I think this sometimes gets really lost in communication, employer and nanny just on, thinking different things. And there's this gap which I really want to fill. And we do have such a wonderfully strong workforce in the UAE in particular and across the Middle East of these wonderful nannies, and just upskilling them will benefit not only their employers, but the children they're caring for, their own selves, and also their families that they've left, in their home countries like the Philippines. Often these nannies are leaving their own children to care for our children. And by them, upskilling themselves, they're offering a better future and hopefully will break this cycle of what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's such a great idea. And, even things like you mentioned their play, it also teaching them like independent play, because I feel like that's something that our nanny in particular, she struggles with. She sits and plays with them all the time, which is so wonderful. But as a result, especially my near 4-year-old, he struggles to play by himself because he's so used to having someone essentially do the playing for him, building the Lego tower or putting together the magnetars. I mean, he's slowly getting better, but yeah, I feel like there is a maybe miscommunication of what they think they should be doing to appear to be caring, as opposed to what is actually helpful and beneficial for a child.
Yes.
And I mean, it's such an interesting route that you've obviously taken in your career. Did you always think from a young age that you wanted to go into this profession, or is this something that you kind of decided you wanted to do in later life?
I always wanted to work with children in some capacity. And as I was getting older, I realized, my two passions are working with children and traveling. And this career kind of has given me both.
Wow, that's amazing. And I mean, have you been to some amazing places with some families then?
incredible places. You know,
Oh.
sometimes, you know, those pinch me moments like, is this real? I'm very grateful for the experiences I've had.
Before we get into all our questions, I've got a bit of a personal question actually in terms of like children's development. I mean, from a governess point of view and supporting children in growth and educating them and helping them develop, what is fundamentally the most important age? Is it kind of when they're in that toddler phase, or is it when they kind of reach 3 or 4 or 5, or is it when they're a bit older?
Okay, well, that's a very interesting question because every age is super important. But they do say that the first 7 years of a human's life are the most important because those 7 years are shaping the child as a human. And some of the behaviors that they learn cannot be unlearned.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I kind of even finding that now with my near 4-year-old. I feel like the behaviors that he learned in his toddler years, and he's a typical first child. I'm just going to put that out there. I feel like I have this conversation with my friends all the time about these first children who come into the world. And as a parent, especially as a mother, we smother them, we mollycoddle them, we wrap them up in cotton wool. And as a result, I feel like they're not overly independent. They're
Yeah.
quite emotional. They're very attached to mummy. And my second is a bulldozer. She's Miss Independent, won't let anyone help her do anything. And the way that they play, I find so interesting. It's so different. My
Hmm.
daughter, she doesn't care. She's like, you can stay here with me if you want to, or you can go and do your own thing. I don't really mind. Whereas he is adamant that someone is at least sitting next to him whilst he plays at all
Yeah.
times.
So normal. And honestly, you'll find with your third, if you think the second's wild, you're in for a treat.
Oh God. Let's see, let's see. And I mean that kind of brings me on quite nicely to my first question. If you're a first-time mum out there and you're listening to this, how can they prepare for motherhood? What tools can they arm themselves with to kind of prepare for this massive change and potentially not them get themselves into a position like I am in now?
Well, honestly, I don't think anything can really prepare you for motherhood. It's something you have to experience. You can read all of the books, you know, follow all of the pages, but ultimately, everybody's experience is totally different. What I do recommend, and I am biased, is seeking professional help. So,
Yeah.
for example, if you are a new mom and you're struggling with the nights, like they're killing you, because sleep is, you know, can be used as a form of torture, sleep deprivation. So
Hmm.
do not be afraid to look into options that help you. So get a night nanny or get a part-time nanny who will come in and just take, you know, take the baby for an hour or two to give you your sanity, particularly in the UAE, because we often are here without our support circle, you know, without family and the circle of friends we might have at home. So definitely I would say be open to lean on professionals for advice and support.
You know what? I love that you brought up a night nanny here because I was adamant first time round. I was like, no, I'm not having a night nanny. I'm doing this all myself. I want the baby to know who its mum is.
Yeah.
I'm not handing over my baby to anyone else. And it was that kind of merged with the guilt of being like, oh my God, am I a terrible person that I would even consider letting someone else like feed my baby in the night or look after my baby in the night? Second time rounds, I think I was more like, oh, you know, do we need to spend the money on that? Is it worth it? Third time round, I'm like, literally take my money, take my baby, let me sleep. Because I've actually realized, firstly, that I'm a much better parent, a much better human, a much better
Yes.
wife when I'm well rested. Um, and secondly, I mean, it's true what they say. Those when they're babies, they don't really know, like they're not going to remember any of this. But
Mhm.
what kind of advice would you give to mums out there who are really worried about the guilt and their baby loving someone else more than them, which is a real thing, by the way, especially for a first time parent?
It's a real thing, and I see that all the time. I've seen it in my own career, you know, jealousy.
Yeah.
But a child knows his parents, knows its parents, like regardless of anything else. Like that bond is just very unique and very strong. It does take a village to raise children. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have to do it on your own. Mom guilt is super normal. But I mean, I have worked for some of the most incredible women in the world, who are like super women, incredible mothers, wives, you know, friends, daughters, and they have help. They
Yeah.
need help, and they need help in order to be, this kind of superwoman. So I would say, really question the mum guilt. Like, where is that actually coming from? Is it real, or is it something society's told you that, if you have help, that you're failing in some kind of way?
So true. It's so true. And I mean, when it comes to finding these people, obviously this is something that you help professionally. But how do we go about finding the right person that fits for our family? Because again, we found that very hard first time around. We had a nanny for a while and we just didn't gel. There was, I don't know what it was. I didn't trust her. I think fundamentally that was the problem.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't love her attitude. I feel like we went into it a bit naive. I didn't really know what questions to ask during the interview process, or, you know, whether I should get testimonials from other families. I didn't know anything. What
Hmm.
advice would you give to someone who was like me, first time around, looking to find the right person for their family?
Yeah. So this is something I really want to help with, particularly in the UAE.
Mm,
Is mothers are employing household staff for the first time, okay, and they have no idea. And it's not like you're hiring a secretary. This is the most personable job in the
yeah,
world. It's so intimate. You're bringing somebody inside your house, which is your safe place,
yeah.
and giving them your most precious possession, which is your child. And so use an agency if you can. I do highly recommend using an agency because they're experts. But if you are going to do it yourself, there needs to be an onboarding system, which is something I teach in the Nanny Academy.
Okay,
um,
amazing.
you know I get a lot of complaints from mothers saying, oh, she's not doing this, or she's a lot of complaints, but what's missing is the communication. That
Mm,
you need an onboarding process just the same as you would with any other role. But I would say interview once or twice. I would say trial 100%, at least a week inside your home, at least a week, whether that's living in or coming in daily, and trust your gut instinct. Because if there is any kind of niggle inside you about this person, instant no. Just don't waste your time, don't waste her time. And it's not necessarily like a negative thing, and it means that it just means they're not a match for you and your family.
yeah. And I mean, you mentioned there obviously instinct and getting someone in for a trial, and then obviously if you kind of decide that you want to go with this person, how long should you give it, roughly speaking, to build that connection? Because again, I feel like first time round, I felt in my gut when we first met her she would be a great fit. There were a few red flags at the time. She wanted to ideally live out. We wanted her to live in. She accepted the role based on live in, but I think fundamentally she didn't want to be there all the time,
Yeah.
which is fine. But I kept kind of expecting the bond to appear, and kind of the um the tension to kind of go away, but it never did. I mean, obviously I understand that you're not going to totally gel with someone straight away, but at what point should we admit defeat and be like, this isn't working, we need to
Hmm.
maybe look at some other options?
I would say it takes a couple of months to settle in. And
Hmm.
that's, even when I'm placing governesses inside households, it takes a while because you have to get to know, I mean, from the nanny's perspective, they have to get to know mum and dad. They have to understand how they like to parent and learn their techniques and then take
Hmm.
them in. They also have to come into a child's life, and the child might be very resistant. They might be like, go away, I want my mom. Why are you here? It's
Yeah.
very odd for a child just to have this person randomly living in their house.
Yeah.
Um, a big change. It's also taking away from their time with their parents. So it's a really big adjustment. I would say give it a couple of months. But if there are red flags, or again, if inside you just have this feeling, I wouldn't let it last for a couple of months.
Okay. Okay. That is good to know. And apart from nannies, what other support can mums really benefit from in those first few weeks and months postpartum? I mean, for example, the other day someone told me about a postpartum doula. I mean, I've never heard
Yes,
of a postpartum doula.
there are some amazing people out there. So sleep trainers, wow,
Yes. 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 Yes.
amazing. Do not delay. If you have any issues, sleep trainers. I mean, now we have like potty training experts. Maternity nannies are angels, honestly, and I love working with them because they're just so professional. You can have somebody to come in and just play with your children. So you might have a play therapist or a Montessori qualified nanny come in, and she just sets up play activities.
I love
Yeah,
this. Tell me
yeah.
more about this. I feel like this is
Um,
what I need.
yeah, which can be such a nice alternative or an add-on, for say you do have a nanny who's not really qualified or experienced in those kinds of areas. You can hire somebody to come in and do that for you. I mean, I've even, for some of my clients, like put together curriculums for their children, and it's amazing what you can do, really. There's an expert for everything.
Oh my God, I love this. This is kind of what I'm looking for, because I feel like we're getting to an age with both our children now where we've got a playroom full of lovely toys. Everything's now like beautifully organized. And I still find that they go in there and they get bored because
Yeah.
they still ultimately have too much choice and things
Yes.
aren't laid out in
Overwhelmed.
an appealing way. And I, as a working parent, don't have time to really invest energy and time into this. Neither do I have time to educate our nanny on this. So this is where I'm hoping. I
The
mean, that
Nanny
sounds like,
Academy comes
yeah,
in.
exactly. And I mean, just in terms of like how the Nanny Academy will be structured, what are the different options that you're going to be offering parents? Is it a day course? Is it online? Is it face to face? Can you just tell us a little bit more about how it's going to
Yeah.
function?
So I started with the idea of workshops, and then I just realized I cannot teach these nannies everything that they need in a workshop. It was too difficult. I just want to give so much. So I've designed the course to be online. There will be a starting date. It's 6 weeks long, and together we'll do it as a group. It's online. The material is very simple, clear, concise. They can do the material at home during their downtime, so when they're at work or in the evenings, when baby's napping, whatever works. And then we have a live weekly coaching call. So we go through the topic of the week, and we do like a question and answer, and just really delve much deeper into the topic. We'll also have a support group where the whole group will be inside, and you can, ask questions in there. I'll be in there every day answering queries. There will also be an in-person first aid course,
Oh,
which is
wow.
certified from the Dubai Ambulance, which is super important,
Mm.
and something that will be included in the course. There will be lots of templates, handbooks, so many goodies that I love, because I love, in my job, I'm organized, and I'm like a family PA. So there's a lot of admin stuff that I want to give away and bundle up so that the nannies can go and use these in their own homes.
I love this. And when are you set to launch this? When can people start signing up?
So you can sign up to the waitlist now, and then the first cohort will start in September.
Gosh, amazing. And you'll do how many a year, have you decided?
I'm thinking about 4 per year, but it depends. And I'm also open to coming into the house and doing one-on-one coaching as well. If you're in the UAE, that's also something that can be arranged if you prefer that kind of method.
So interesting. And I mean, my next question for you is actually, again, quite a personal one to our current situation. And I know that people who are probably listening to this elsewhere in the world are going to be like, oh my God, first world
UAE
problems,
problem, yeah.
make her shut up. But anyway, it's turning into a massive topic of conversation in our house at the moment. So it's no secret that I am pregnant with our third child, and all our kids are quite close together in age. We have a nearly 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then the baby is due at the end of the year. And our nanny, who is a total superstar, she is getting a little bit older, and I'm not going to lie, she struggles sometimes with the two.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of at that point at the moment where we're like, do we increase nursery hours, or do we get some more support? And does that more support look like a cleaner? Does it look like another nanny? Does it look like, just a couple of extra ad hoc hours here and there? What advice would you give to someone like me who, I mean, I would love to say that I could do some more parenting myself, but realistically, with the workload that I currently have, I don't want to add that stress to my plate. So this is kind of looking like my only option.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think is best for us to go from here? Because I am genuinely worried about introducing another nanny and they might not get on, or
Very common.
yeah, you hear some horror stories.
Yeah, particularly if you have somebody that's been there for a while.
Yeah,
It
very
can be difficult.
territorial.
Yes, but doesn't mean it couldn't work. What is great is that you have so many options. I mean, incredible. So I think you just have to think realistically, like how much time, how much more cover do you need? Speak to your current nanny
Yeah.
and be real, have a very honest and frank conversation. Let her know that you're not offended. You know, this is, what do you think about the situation? You can always get somebody in temporarily to help with the baby for the first 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a good option. And then after that 3 months, you then kind of reassess the situation. Okay, so now you've been a family of 5 now for a little while. You can see how the new nanny's interacting with the baby, or is she overwhelmed? So yeah, that could be an option. And then as well, yeah, you could just get a cleaner. And then also think, your eldest will be going to school.
He's already at school, which is great. But
So will his hours increase?
a little bit. So they're currently, the 2-year-old is at school from, well, she's at nursery from 8 till 1.
Mm-hmm.
And my toddler, the near 4-year-old, is at school. He will be next term from 8 until 2:30, I think it is. But
Mm-hmm.
then that still leaves quite a big chunk of the day where there are 3 children and 1 caregiver. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think I would like to be that one person looking after 3 children day
Yeah.
in, day out, because their needs really collectively are so different.
So different.
You
The
know, that,
mornings. I'm
yeah,
just thinking about the morning school run. So
yeah,
I would say definitely, I would look perhaps at getting a baby nanny
yeah,
initially for 3 months and then reassess. Maybe she'll want to stay on
yeah.
and take over kind of the more childcare, and your current nanny will want to go to more housekeeping if she is being overwhelmed. Yeah, but
Okay.
I wish you luck.
Yes, I think this is going to be me, a 2 nanny household. I never thought I'd say that. And all my friends who have got 2 nannies already have always been a bit like, "Oh, that's rather indulgent, isn't it?" And then here I am, I'm like, "Oh, yes, I think we might need another nanny."
You could also look at getting an au pair,
So
or a junior nanny.
what is the difference between an au pair and a junior nanny versus like a full-time nanny? I've always wondered this. Is it just because they're younger?
Younger, they have stronger passports, so they can travel with you, which is
Okay.
a bonus, especially when you have 3. Usually can drive, so
Okay.
that adds a lot of value to the household. Just imagine one person being able to do the school run in full by themselves. Saves you so much time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the difference.
And where would one find an au pair? Again, is this something that you would assist with?
Yes, so the Mama Consultancy can help with au pairs. And at the moment, especially in Dubai, because it's so popular, everybody wants to come over to Dubai. So there's you can find some really amazing candidates who just want to kind of take on their first nanny job. Maybe they want to break into the nanny governess industry, and so they'll come in and do a job as an au pair or junior nanny for a year or so.
Okay, that's good to know. And just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously, there's lots of different people who can help with lots of different things. And one question that we get actually quite a lot of messages on is pay, their salaries. So I know that a nanny like ours, like your standard kind of nanny who comes and helps and lives with you, salaries kind of range anything from 2,500 up to kind of 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
When we kind of get into the governess, more au pair space, what does that jump look like?
You're looking at realistically at least 20,000 as a minimum
Yeah.
salary.
Yeah.
They usually have accommodation included. So whether that's living inside the house or you providing separate accommodation, maybe a
Yeah.
studio somewhere, and then also giving them a car, either use of your family car or getting a separate car. And they're usually working 6 days a week. It's usually, kind of 10 to 12-hour days. So they are working
Long
working
hours.
hard.
Mm.
You also have to take care of their visa as well, which can be a little trickier. But that's if you were going to bring in a professional kind of established nanny or governess. So if you go
Okay.
to the au pair junior nanny, you can you can go lower.
Sorry, just 2 seconds. They've appeared back. Hi, Dal. Mummy's on a call. She's gone, Dal. Do you want to come and say hello? This is my 4-year-old. Rafi, do you want to say hello?
Hi.
He can't hear you.
He doesn't
sadly.
want to say hello.
No, he can't. He's.
Oh.
Let me. They do this all the time. They run away from my nanny and come into my office. I need to stop locking my door. Sorry, give me one
It's okay.
second. 1 second. Sorry, I'm on a call. Yes, go on, darling. I'll be done soon, okay? I'll be done soon, sweetie. Yeah, go and cook some sausages. Will you cook some sausages for all of us? Yeah? Yeah, the big ones. Go on, darling. Go on, please. Yeah. Okay, all right. All the colours on. Great, thank you. Okay, bye-bye. No. All right, out we go. Sorry about that. Sometimes it's good that the podcast is about parenting because people are slightly more understanding.
Of course.
When it's PR clients, and I mean, I've had children, they've come in and his trick is to jump into the back of the seat and he hides and then he just pops his head up and goes, boo! And I'm like, what? And the client is just like, oh my God, what's that? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's just my
It's
toddler.
my child.
Yeah.
Blocking the screen.
Yeah, it's the school holidays. What can I say? Anyway. All right. So I'm just going to now move on to support at home. So any advice that you can give around this would be great. So first one is around setting healthy boundaries and discipline, because discipline for me in our household is one that I really struggle with. And I understand how hard it must be to discipline someone else's child, because you never want to overstep. You never want to appear that you're pushing it too far. But at the same time, I don't want to always feel like I'm the bad person having to do the disciplining. And our nanny is the one who's getting to be the nice one that's always like, don't worry, it's okay. How can we encourage discipline from everybody within the household?
I think it's really important to empower our nannies.
Yes,
and
agreed.
let them know that it is okay. This is what I want. It's very difficult also if perhaps you're in the same room, even as a governess. I mean, I found this difficult in my career. If mum's in the room and the child is misbehaving, it's awkward. You don't know whether to step in or whether you're leaving it to mum. But that really comes with time. And as you strengthen your relationship, you'll kind of get to work each other out. But definitely empowering your nanny and letting her know your expectations and what is right and what is wrong, and say to her, if you see me discipline the children on something in particular, please carry that forwards. Like, it's absolutely fine. It's what I need you to do.
Yes, I mean, because you're very right when you say that. I've never really put the shoe on the other foot, because often there is a scenario and I'm in the room, but I take a step back because I want to see what she's going to do and how she's going to handle it. And as you've just experienced, one of our biggest bugbears, or one of the biggest things that is one of my personal challenges, is when I'm here in the office and I'm working, they just manage to slip her. They just run away from her and then barge into my office whenever they want to. Or when it's a meal time, I say, just get them to sit down and eat their food, and they'll manage to escape her. And I'm like, I shout, I'm like, Lisa, are you missing a child? Because I've got one here. And she's like, oh, yes. I mean, things like that. How can we, I don't know, it's really hard because obviously I want to encourage the independence, and I'm like, feel free to do other things whilst they're playing. But at the same time, I'm like,
I need you to know where the children are. That's quite important.
And make sure that they're not in my office. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a real hard one. And then what about boundaries as well? Like, how can we help them teach our children healthy boundaries? Because I think that's such an important one, especially with toddlers. I find that when I'm trying to set a boundary for Rafa, he understands it if I hold firm on my boundary. But if I start to move the boundary a little bit, or someone else starts to move the boundary, then the whole world ends. This is when we have the meltdowns. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard, especially when a toddler is shouting at you, I want apple juice. And it's like, no, you only have apple juice on Saturdays or after you've had your dinner or whatever it might be. How can we help them hold strong to those boundaries that we've created?
Yeah, because consistency is key with parenting. It's the
Yeah.
most important thing when setting boundaries. But again, it's talking and communicating to your nanny and explaining and teaching them how important it is. And ultimately, if they can't get on board with enforcing your boundaries, they're not the right fit for you. I do believe that, because so many nannies are capable of getting on board. And if the rule is apple juice on Saturdays only, then it's apple juice on Saturdays only.
Is it better to write these things down, do you
You
think?
can.
Like,
So
okay.
definitely in my onboarding process, I actually have like a house manual that I really encourage. So in there is house rules, and also rules when it comes to the children. So what are the rules? Put the apple juice one in. Put down the silliest rules that you can think of, but things that are really important. Like maybe you don't like them to eat crisps. Okay, then also write that down. So definitely it's a process. Write them down, and then also as well let them shadow you in the beginning, so that they kind of can see, they can observe, and then you leave them to it, and hopefully they'll follow through.
Okay. And then what about the juggle? So, you know, this I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and I feel like so many people, when they first have a child, your life totally changes, and overnight you're a totally different person with a totally different set of responsibilities. And really, the bottom line is you have no clue what you're doing because you've never done it before, or most people haven't anyway. Then when you get a second child, if you do have a second child, you're learning how to juggle. You know what you're doing as a parent, you're learning how to juggle two children. I'm hoping that third time round, I already know how to juggle and I already know how to parent. So maybe it'll be a little bit easier. But our nannies and the people who support us at home, they go through the same thing. But I think sometimes we don't have the capacity to cope with what we're currently doing. And we just expect them to be able to learn it by themselves. Any tips on how everyone collectively can either learn how to introduce a newborn to the house, or learn how to introduce a new sibling and juggle too?
It's a very good question. I think even every time you have a child, you become a new mother, because
Sure.
you're now a mother of three, which is totally different to being a mother of two. And the mother you were when you just had one child is totally different, and that's why your children are also so different, and their attachments to you are different. So I would say definitely communicate early on, as long at the right point. Communicate, read stories to the children, speak about your baby as a real human that's coming in, and
Yeah.
get real with the nannies, and sit down and have the conversation of, how do you feel about the new baby? How do you feel about your increased workload? And that is difficult. We do sometimes forget, because you are the person that's pregnant, you're the mom, and you're the juggler, the main juggler. But
Mm.
even dad, like, how is dad going to feel? He now has to share his wife with another child, and then his nanny is going to be have a increased workload, which might take away from the things that she does for dad. For
Mm.
example, she might be preparing breakfast for everybody, and she misses his coffee. It spills into everything.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. It's a hard one, and it's one I'm I'm hoping will be a little easier this time round.
Yeah, but children adapt so quickly. It will be as if you've always had three.
Before we kind of move on to tips and products, I know we've touched on independence a little bit, but one thing that I find that we're probably not quite at that level yet, but we will be at some point soon, is kind of bursting this Dubai bubble. I mean, we do very much live in a Dubai bubble, which is great. And don't get me wrong, I would not have it any other way. But I feel like as a result, sometimes children in this part of the world, they don't gain the life skills and the independence that other children do in other parts of the world. Um, like supermarket shopping, learning how to cook, learning how to help with the laundry, learning how to water plants, all that kind of stuff. What life skills do you think are super important, and what should we be getting our children involved in? on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis.
So I do think that just because you have household staff doesn't mean that the children cannot learn all of these skills and be involved. So I would, even now your children's age, give them chores. So it starts with, you have to take your plate to the sink
Yes.
after every time. Okay.
Yeah.
And then give them one maybe bigger job every weekend. So, okay, you need to fold the laundry, and they can be assisting your nanny, and but they have to do it. Also, something very important is to educate the nanny, because as we touched on earlier, sometimes they can do everything for the child, which is, a negative. I watched nannies feed their, oh God, sorry, someone's trying to
No,
get in my door. One
no,
sec.
no. Go, 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 go.
Sorry.
Don't worry,
Oh
it's all
God,
okay.
now the dog's going to go as well.
Don't worry. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Sorry, my partner just came back from work unexpectedly and the door shut.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, so you were saying about
Sorry,
chores.
the
Don't worry,
dog
we'll wait
knows.
for the dog. We'll wait for the dog. We'll wait for the dog.
Yes, so chores. Sorry, I'm out of thought now.
No, don't worry, don't worry. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, helping with the chores and
Oh,
then nannies, but
the
getting the
nannies.
nannies on board. Yeah.
Yeah, so really important to get the nannies on board, because this is something that parents often come to me with. So I've seen nannies, feed 7-year-old or 10-year-old children at the table. Absolute no. Or put their shoes on for them. Put your own shoes on. So we should always be encouraging this, and encouraging our nannies to encourage. I think if you see a behavior that from your nanny, just flag it immediately,
Yes.
and just say, "Oh, I think Bobby can do that himself. Actually, he's a big boy now." And then you encourage independence in that way, I think.
Yeah, so actually, this is something that we're working on at the moment. We try and kind of every couple of months take on a new task, as it were. So at the moment, what we're focusing on is the kids, both of them, feeding themselves, which bizarrely, my youngest is very good at, my eldest is very bad at. Also, putting their own shoes on, both of them,
Yeah.
the 2-year-old and the near 4-year-old, and then also dressing themselves in the morning.
Yes.
The 2-year-old needs some help, but the older one is so much better. And then at the end of every day, if they manage to do all those things, we have a little jar and they get to put a star in the jar.
Amazing.
And they love it. They literally
Exactly.
love the
And
star
the
jar.
simplest things that you think, oh, they won't care. No, they do.
Oh my God, they love it.
They love it. Like, I've done that with like stones before. You give them a pebble and put it in their jar. They're like, oh my goodness, I've got a pebble. And, factor in as well extra times, because if you are going to be bringing in independent skills, it might take you 7 minutes for them to put their shoes on. So just like factor in that extra time.
Fabulous. And then my final question before we come on to tips and products is boredom. Now, again, I feel like this is a real Dubai child problem. And I know that I, as a parent, have definitely brought it on myself. But I feel like my kids don't really know how to be bored until they go on holiday to Europe or somewhere where we don't have as much help, where they then start being imaginative and doing a bit more for themselves. But boredom is important, if I'm correct in thinking. How can we sit back sometimes as parents and just take the pressure off ourselves, understand that kids don't need to be entertained 24/7. They don't need to go to a soft play every day. They don't need to be out and about. And can you just illustrate how important boredom actually is?
I wholeheartedly agree. You have to be bored. I mean, think back in our childhoods, we were bored.
Yeah.
And it teaches you so much. So I would say reduce screen time, because then they are going to feel bored. And also, you mentioned earlier with the playroom and the children don't really play with anything. I would take away their toys and just leave them with maybe like 5 things and rotate those 5 things.
Yeah.
Also, another activity is, I love to do this. I say, oh, we're going to do a charity clear out. So we go through the playroom, and then, you're pulling out something that they have not played with for like a year. And they're all of a sudden, oh, no, you can't give away this because I love this. And then they play with that for the next hour. So that's also a good hack that I like to do. I go in, I say, right, we're gonna donate 3 toys today. That's, you know, search around and then they'll find something that they absolutely love. I also
that.
like simple things like coloring in, you know, junk modeling, going out into nature when you can. Obviously in UAE it's quite difficult, but
Yeah.
if you have a garden, it's really a bonus.
It's a bit easier. We're
Yeah.
very lucky here. And then tips and products. We always ask our guests before we say goodbye for one tip and one product based on the conversation. So if you were going to leave us with two little nuggets, what would they be?
Okay. So tip, I mean, I'm going to say hire a great nanny.
Love this. Great tip.
Invest in your nanny. So whether that is a nanny, a UAE kind of nanny, invest in her training, invest in her, or hire a professional and spend a little bit more. That's my top tip. And then also one product. I'm going to go back to my governess kind of years. I would say if you are going to introduce a cuddly toy that your little one sleeps with, great, because you can use it as a sleep cue. You know, bunny comes out and then, you know, okay, it's time to get sleepy and go to bed. Buy 5 of that exact same bunny.
Yeah. I've learned this the hard way.
Buy 5 at least, and then put 3 of them somewhere, and then one in the cot, and then another one, hide it somewhere totally different. Just do that.
I love this. This is the best tip. I've done this. We have my daughter has an obsession with jelly cat bunnies, which is rather an expensive obsession. My eldest, he likes it's like a weird dog lion from IKEA, so that's slightly better. I mean, you can get those in abundance. They're like 20 dirhams. I'm like, brilliant, thank you. So yeah, and they call him Fluffy, and we have lots of fluffies just hidden around the house just in case.
I love it.
But yeah, and before we say goodbye today, can you please tell everybody where they can find you if they want to reach out, find more information about your companies and your businesses? Where can they find out more?
So you can use my Instagram handle with my name, which is Lynsay Kilbane. Something that might be easier because my name is unusual. You can find me at the Nanny Academy, ME, Middle East, or at the Mama Consultancy.
I love this. And as always, everyone, I will link everything in the show notes. And if you've liked this episode, please feel free to rate, review, subscribe. You can leave us a little comment. We'd love to hear from you. And you can find us on Mother Tongue. You can find us on Instagram at We Are Mother Tongue. Lynsay, you've been a superstar. Thank you. What a great chat. I feel like I've learned so much. And I'm going to be dropping you an email pretty much straight after this, finding out more about your cause. So thank you so much for coming on today and being a fab guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.